Hey, welcome to the Paratrooper and the Yogi Walk into a Bar podcast. I just walked into this bar, and there he is, the geopolitical genius himself, Andrew Fox. And that is the very prolific Mr. Andrew Fox here on Substack and on X.
Yeah, Mr. Andrew Fox, who owes people a weekly conflict roundup, but
Yes.
I've got two 10,000 word papers to finish by tomorrow. So it's just going to have to take a little backseat till Wednesday when I fly to Israel. But anyway, Shana Meyerson sat there, host of the Yoga of War podcast, which is wherever you can find your podcast things, be it YouTube or Spotify or wherever your preferred repository for your listening pleasure is. And of course, you can follow her also here on Substack. So please do give her a subscribe. Of course, this week we are celebrating and mourning. We're celebrating the undefeated Big Ten champions, the Indiana Hoosiers.
Oh, yes, we are celebrating that.
Number one.
Hoosiers, yeah.
Number one seed in the country in college football. We're also celebrating Aston Villa defeating top of the league Arsenal with a 95th minute winner thanks to Emi Buendia. But we are lamenting the Indianapolis Colts 2025 season as they've now lost both their quarterbacks. So.
Wow. And when you say we, clearly you're talking about us, because I follow this stuff so closely. I love how you said that you could find my podcast in any repository, because to me that sounds a little bit like a toilet. So it's better than that.
So many jokes I can make here, but I'm just going to politely decline so we can move on. What are we talking about today, Shana? What's the skinny?
I love it when people call me skinny. Today we're going to talk about the UN General Assembly vote, a time-honored tradition of insisting that Israel be the only country on earth that give back territory that it wins in defensive wars. This one was ostensibly about the, I love it, it's actually called in the resolution the Syrian Golan. Okay. I love it how they cannot, literally, they cannot say a word about Israel without putting in some sort of dig about occupied or genocide or Syrian, because quite honestly, this is not the Syrian Golan. And this was way bigger than just the Golan. So we all know, by the way, Andrew Fox, that our hero of the Golan is Donald Trump, who recognized it as Israeli sovereign territory. You love that, don't you?
Well, it's irrelevant. I mean, it's not. But, the fact is that possession is 9/10 of the law and Israel holds it and they're not giving it up. So, recognition is really neither here nor there. I mean, I think international law is pretty clear, but realpolitik is a real thing, unfortunately, for the Syrians.
Yeah. So before we get into the actual vote or what it means or what was implied or explicitly stated, my volume's too loud. Okay, you know what? I'm going to take off. I was trying my microphone. I actually wrote myself a note, do not use the microphone with my phone, and then I did. Okay. Hopefully that's better. Is that better?
I mean, you're fine to me, but
okay.
I'll come closer so that my microphone can pick up.
I know I'm always perfect to you. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, about the actual vote. So first I want to talk a little bit about who voted for and who voted against, because the truth is, when I'm looking at these voting, oh my God, did you update your iPhone? Because I just updated my iPhone and I put it on Do Not Disturb, but the phone keeps ringing.
No, so Ian's having trouble hearing me. Some people saying I'm fine. So that's, I don't.
It's probably because whenever the iPhone updates, it bricks the system. So you'll buy the new phone. And since I made the mistake, we're going to have some issues, I guess. Anyway, whenever I look at the voting record, I'm not
loud. You are really, really loud.
I am? I don't know why.
Walter says the mics are at just very different volumes. I was going to say that that's just you.
It's just me. Okay. I'll move back a little bit. I'm always really loud. Yeah, I am. I'm American. It's how I am. Okay, I'm going to talk quieter and hopefully this makes the difference. I don't know what to do. We don't have like volume controls on Substack the way that New York do.
Keep going and
Okay.
be all right on the night.
They can stalker through it. So anyway, whenever I go through and look at who voted, it's not that it's surprising, but I guess that sometimes at certain junctures, I expect different things from different people. So let's start with some. My volume is high, but not unbearable. Generally, I am an unbearably loud person, to tell you the truth. My family is always telling me to not talk so loudly. Okay, I'm going to try talking more quietly, and we're going to let this go and let it be what it is. Okay, so the resolution was that Israel should, again, it says here in Golan, but really it was give back everything back to the 1967 borders. I mean, this is a time-honored tradition. As I said, this is something they vote on over and over and over. It's non-binding, and they'll just keep saying it. But in the meantime, disappointing, but not surprising. Some of those who voted yes, I would say that the one that was sort of the most shocking, if that's the word, but shocking is a very big word because I wasn't shocked at all because you have to expect this, but was that Germany voted for. Germany, who, by the way, just installed the Arrow 3 defense system, the Israeli Arrow 3 defense system, under much pomp and circumstance. Same Germany whose Chancellor Merz just showed up in Israel. And they decided that, yes, they would like Israel to go back to 1967 lines. Now, I'm not going to say it's atypical. It's just that every once in a while, you want to believe that one of these countries is going to transcend tradition and try to do what is just plain old right. Other people who voted yes, Israel should give back everything, include our peace partners, Egypt and Jordan. Again, like every day I read.
Jordan sponsored the resolution, actually.
Right.
They were one of the leaders. And someone's just asked which resolution, and let's just make it really clear for people so they know. The United Nations General Assembly, 25th of November, 25. And if you really want the details to look it up, it's Alpha/80/Lima 1616. And it's titled The Peaceful Settlement of the Question of Palestine.
Yeah, and it also involves giving up such unimportant landmarks as like the Kotel, the Western Wall, that, according to international law, does not in fact belong to the Jews, but surely this is occupied Palestinian territories. Also among the people who voted yes, Israel give back everything, were all of our Abraham Accords partners. Again, it's not, well, I think that Sudan abstained. So
they were kind of busy, having had 60,000 killed.
That's right.
In the last 3 days.
Yeah, including like 160 in a hospital. Oh, Andrew Fox, your connection is unstable. So again, I think that like every time there's one of these votes, part of me asks like, what is the point of the Abraham Accords? Is it really, really just about commercial interest? Because I'm tired. I'm tired of everybody just slapping Israel in the face and just getting what they can get, whatever they can get out of Israel and the financial and intelligence and military and all the things that Israel does to help them. But at the UN, across the line, we always vote against Israel. Then we had our aspiring Abraham Accords states like Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Azerbaijan, which I don't know, they're in some weird Abraham Accords limbo. They sort of said they were going to join the Accords, and they sort of didn't join the Accords, and I don't know where they are with the Accords. But I also love that Ukraine decided that Israel should give back the territory. I talked about this last week. by how offensive I find it that like South Korea or Korea, whatever, can't understand like how what Israel faces with terrorists on the border is the same as what they face with North Korea. And again, like I maybe you could enlighten me on this. Ukraine has no business telling Israel that they have to give back territories gained in a defensive war. Now, I do want to say there were some surprising abstentions, and that included the UK, Australia, and Canada. 3 of the 4 musketeers. The 4th musketeer, France, voted in favor. Give the whole ship back. And the big surprising abstention, I think the biggest one of all, for the opposite reason, was Argentina, which has really, in the last couple of years, emerged as one of Israel's honestly, one of their top allies, most staunch supporters. I was surprised that they did not support Israel in this resolution. So I just want to go quickly into the 7 against. I'm going to hand it back to you after that. Yes, a whole 7 countries voted against this resolution. You could count them on one hand if you're with a couple extra fingers. But you hey, some people are, Andrew, and it's not funny. But 2 of those states, of course, predictably, are Israel and America. So that leaves you with 5 fingers. Of those 5, Paraguay is far and away the superpower among those who voted against. So that should give you an idea of current UN support for the state of Israel.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at I'm going to speak up because my dad's just WhatsApped me saying people can't hear me, and some people say it's fine, so I'll just keep it this volume here. Like, there's so much stuff going on here. Like, how do we start unpacking this? First of all, the abstentions from the UK et al. That's probably because this resolution actually goes against the terms of the UN Security Council Resolution 2803, which is the Trump ceasefire deal. So it goes against that. And that's why I think the big players have just gone, nah, not touching this. Thank you very much. If we look at, you talk about the Abraham Accords partners, look, I've long said they're nothing but a bit of paper. And when it comes to Arabs versus Israel, the lines will be delineated as they always are. The Arabs tend to sort of be happy to play along until the Arab family is attacked, and then all of a sudden they will band around. And just look at the strike on Doha, when Israel tried to strike Hamas leaders. Straight away, the whole of the Gulf states coalesced around Qatar in protectiveness. So the Abraham Accords only go so far, and I've always been a massive skeptic of them as a vehicle for future anything more than just future kind of business deals. But I think this kind of cuts to the whole core of the issue. Like, if the international law is pretty clear, it's pretty clear in terms of you're not supposed to take ground by force, and that's what happened. But someone's just put in the comments that realpolitik wins out, and it does. And that's the bottom line: is if you can take it and hold it, there's not much anyone can do to stop you, unless they've got force equal to or better than the force you have. And that's not unusual to Israel. We see that all over the place. I mean, look at the way that land was reassigned and people were reassigned after the Second World War. Admittedly, before some of these bits of international legislation were brought into place, but still, this is. I think the last 50 years are looking very much like a blip and an anomaly, rather than an enduring solution for humanity, as things are going at the moment, with the car crash that the US published at the weekend. But look, this boils down to geography from an Israeli perspective. The law doesn't really come into it. I was in Samaria just a month or so ago, and you can see the topography map of Israel, where the high ground is all in the east, where Judea Samaria is. The low ground takes you all the way down to Tel Aviv in the west. But it really comes home, particularly from a sort of soldiering perspective, what a strategic advantage or weakness, depending on who holds it, that high ground, in fact, gives you. The high ground is, it provides a clear shot at Tel Aviv. It provides a clear shot at Ben Gurion, the airport. This is really critical stuff. And if you take that away from the state of Israel, it becomes, what is it, 11 kilometers wide? It's something like that. It's incredibly narrow. I'd have to double check the exact mileage. But Israel's in a strategic bind. They can't afford to give this stuff up. If you look at how the land lies. Am I breaking up? I'm keep getting unstable messages.
A little bit. You're not really breaking up. You're sort of pixelating. You look a little bit like a Minecraft guy.
Shana, hold it there. You talk some American for.
Okay, I'll talk some American.
I'm gonna move rooms, and hopefully that'll improve my internet signal. Okay, give me 60 seconds.
Okay. I'll hold down the fort. Okay, so really quickly, while he's away, some things I do want to sort of build upon here, and this is something that I think is extraordinarily important that people do not understand. When you look at UN Security Resolution 242, which was the one that people says that Israel is occupying Judea and Samaria. If you actually read the text, one thing you have to understand is that in... Okay, the sound is just going to be an issue today, apparently. So I'll try to talk more quietly. That in Resolution 242, what it actually said was that after the War of 67, that they were going to, Israel was going to negotiate secure borders, and that this was all going to be a final negotiations thing that may one day lead to a Palestinian state, right? So there's nowhere in that resolution that says that these are occupied territories or that Israel being in Judea and Samaria is in any way illegal. It's just that, just like as we're watching in real time how the narrative of the world is being hijacked by the anti-Israel elements, so has what the UN said. Really quickly, Andrew, I'm just talking about that UN.
I can hear it all. I can
You could.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it went from legal to illegal to occupied, and now this is the whole narrative. And the fact is that Israel, particularly in Judea and Samaria, is theirs at best and questionable at worst. There's no thing that says that their presence there is illegal. I also want to, just stacking what you were saying, Andrew, about the Golan, that one thing that we can't overlook is the fact that the world is literally looking at perhaps the most unstable nation in the world right now, definitely in the Middle East. It's built on a shaky jihadi terrorist foundation, and saying Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East and the only true ally of the West, why don't you give this land back to the Syrian terrorists? It's absolute madness. And I also want to say that from what I can understand, I didn't find the actual text of the resolution, though I was looking for it. Perhaps you have it. From what I understand from reports, this resolution is eerily similar to the 2016 UN Security Council Resolution 2334, when outgoing President Barack Obama was widely perceived, and definitely perceived by me, to have thrown Israel under the bus by abstaining on that vote instead of vetoing. Now, this is a UNGA resolution, so neither did America have veto capabilities, nor is it binding. So all of these things, and Andrew, I think that if we had to boil basically every single conversation we've had down when it comes to diplomacy, it's just the word of the year is performative. Performative. All of this and a grain of rice will get you a grain of rice.
Yeah. So that probably ties into where I was going before I had to move rooms. look, the legal situation goes one of two ways. And, the ruling in the ICJ and stuff is that it's occupied, but whatever. The counter argument is the one that Natasha preaches consistently about uti possidetis juris, or similar. I'm not good at Latin. I'm not an international lawyer. It sounds something like that. Go and find Natasha's videos. She's essentially saying that if when a new state comes into creation, it inherits the previous territory, and those are its borders, which would, of course, include Judea Samaria, the West Bank, in Israel's case. The counter-argument to that is the rights to self-determination that Palestinians have, where they as a group have the right to have their own gig. It's essentially the argument, and I think it boils down to rights come with responsibilities. Unfortunately, and Israel cannot afford to entrust them with that right, because they won't take the responsibility of not trying to attack and destroy Israel. And of course, the territory they would inherit, should they be given those areas as a Palestinian state, as I was just saying, would look down on Israel. They, physically look down. The view is incredible. You can see all the way to the sea. You can see from the river to the sea. Jordan Valley notwithstanding, but once you get on that high ground in Judea Samaria,
right,
you see all the way down to the sea. And the way things are, there's no government on the planet in any country that would agree to that situation.
Yeah.
And then when we look at how Syria is going, it's a complete mess still. The north is still fighting SNA versus Kurds. The Suwaida region, there's still all sorts in there. A good friend of mine, Steve Emerson, is about to publish a paper, the information that he can actually share about Hamas presence in that part of Syria and the camps they've got going on there. Not to mention that a very easy transit route for, munitions, material, down through the Golan region into the Palestinian territory, so they could get easily armed at that point. Although Syria is currently intercepting Hezbollah munitions that are going across. So again, it's the Middle East. There's about 16 different parts. You don't need 4D chess. You need 20D chess to understand everything that's going on in that region. But bottom line, strategically, Israel can't afford to go along with these resolutions, no matter what the law says, no matter what resolutions are passed, no matter what condemnation on the international stage. The bottom line is they just can't afford to do it, and it's as simple as that.
Well, Andrew, I want to push back on your counter argument to Posidorus Juris, or I'm making up words at this point. Like in advertising, how they say you write Greek by just putting in random letters and places. That's basically how I say that. But I think you probably pronounced it better than I do. But it just rolls off Natasha's tongue for sure. She's probably said it 10,000 times. But
in the mirror in the morning when she's brushing it.
Posidorus Juris. I'm making up words. I don't even know what it is. It's like when I do my Duolingo Hebrew, I literally make up words that are like they don't even share a single letter with what they're asking. I'm like, maybe this is the word. It's not. So anyway, that's how I deal with language. I'm decent with English though. But when you say that the counter argument to that is the fact that the Palestinians have a right to self-determination, I'm going to push back because they don't have a state. And let me push back twice on saying they don't have a state because they've rejected the state. And let me push back 7 times to say they rejected a state in 1948 and 6 times since. So no, they actually don't have at this point a right to self-determination. That being said, another thing I actually want to stack on that, which is a little bit of a tangent, the UN this weekend decided that they want to extend the UNRWA mandate for 3 more years. I'm laughing because, it's funny, not funny. In fact, there's nothing funny about it. But keep in mind, not that international law actually matters to anyone anymore, especially as it comes to Israel. You just get to make up rules as they go along. But since 157 United Nations states currently recognize the state of Palestine, they ought to also recognize the international law that says that people cannot be refugees within their own borders. So either there's a state or there's not a state. But if 157 out of what, like 192, 194 countries want to say that Palestine is a state, then UNRWA needs to be dismantled. Not to mention the fact that it is a mechanism of Hamas. But Andrew, I really do want to get your thoughts on Ukraine voting for this. Now, even in these offensive Trump ceasefire plans, they all sort of say, okay, well, Russia gets to keep whatever that, Russia keeps Crimea, by the way. Nobody's like, oh, give Crimea back. And in fact, this ceasefire plan, peace plan that I know you think is ridiculous, pretty much gives that, not Crimea, but like what what Russia has invaded and more, because that's how war goes when you get territory. You're not expected to give it back, even when you're Russia. So Ukraine voting for giving all this land back, and we're talking about land that was mostly captured in 1967. Like what? What is the thought behind that? The Ukraine.
Ukraine politically voting for this makes perfect sense because it reinforces that you can't take ground by force, which is exactly what Russia has done to them. So if they vote against this revolution, they're rejecting the idea that you can't keep ground that you've taken by force.
But it was taken by force before Israel took it back.
Yeah, I know, but this is where we are currently as international law stands. So the point is that political messaging wise, I can see the Ukrainian point. They don't want to sign anything that says, yeah, if you use force, you can keep the ground you've taken. That makes logic to me. That's, again, realpolitik. Yeah, I can see their reasoning for that. So, yeah, I don't have a great deal to add. Politically, it makes sense. Not everything is about Israel, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, oh. God, Andrew, I can't believe you just said that to me. By the way, I think that this is going to be like the recording is going to be the comments keep coming in that I'm really trying to talk quietly, and to me, you're talking at a
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, what about UNRWA? What about this? So you're saying that I'm also surprised that you're saying that most of these countries abstained because it contradicts the Trump peace plan. As far as I understand, based on every report that I'm reading, everybody's pretty much decided that the Trump peace plan means nothing, that they're all rewriting things. Oh, well, maybe they don't have to disarm. Maybe they don't have to give Iran back. Maybe Hamas can stay in power. Maybe this, maybe that. And everything is just completely being pushed aside. I can't imagine that they're suddenly going to be like, no, we have to stick with this plan. Which, by the way, if that argument sticks, that they want to stick with the Trump peace plan, there is no Palestinian state declared in the peace plan. So therefore, they would have to rescind all those votes saying that they believe in a Palestinian state, because that directly conflicts with the Trump plan that says that once all these other items have been taken care of, then we could consider some sort of pathway to a state, which implies there is no state yet.
Yeah, and look, I'm making informed guesses here because the British government was selfish enough that they didn't share with me their reasoning, which is incredibly rude of them. Incredibly rude. And I'll speak to the Foreign Office tomorrow morning first.
Yeah,
but the I think there's wheels within wheels again, and look, we're trying to keep Trump relatively placated right now. It's bad enough with the negotiations over Ukraine. The last thing we want to do is torch any lingering influence we might have to influence Mr. Trump's thinking on Ukraine by annoying him by going against his 3,000-year-long peace deal. So I'd imagine that's the backroom dealing that's going on between Washington, Ottawa, London, and the other countries you mentioned that abstained. And look, diplomacy should be straightforward, but it never is. you'd like to think it's a matter of right and wrong, and that's what dictates how countries vote in accordance with their national principles and ethos. And, hence the Arab states voting with Arab states. And you'd think that, European countries would vote along for fellow sort of Westphalian democracies. But that's not how it plays out, unfortunately. And when you have an agent of chaos rampaging around the world like Donald Trump is, it does lead to some slightly strange decisions, as it did with Ukraine, who clearly are desperate not to be seen to be signing off on a country keeping territory that it seized by force. So, wheels within wheels, diplomacy incredibly challenging. But like I said, I'll get onto the Foreign Office on Monday and demand answers.
Okay. Yeah. Could we talk a little bit about Chancellor Merz coming to Israel, the timing, and a little? I know that honestly there hasn't been like a tremendous amount of information about that, but we could just talk about feelings. Feelings.
Like a true yoga instructor. Yeah, go for it. What are your thoughts?
Okay, you pass me the talking stick, and then I'll do the talking. I have to say, because I have to say this for the second time, every time iPhone puts out an update, they brick old phones. My battery, like I have it plugged in, it says charging, and it's all of a sudden it's almost empty. This is very, very typical. Don't get the new update. So anyway, so as most of us know, Chancellor Merz just made his first visit to Israel since becoming chancellor. And I wanted to actually read a quote from Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, because I think that it's very telling in just these couple of sentences. Of course, there's going to be a lot of, kissy. The chancellor is a friend of Israel, and Germany is an important partner. Relations between the countries are on an upward trend. This trend is reflected in the removal of the partial embargo, Germany's clear opposition to all types of boycotts against Israel, and its abstention at the UN from supporting the extension of UNRWA's mandate. Now, all of this on its surface to me sounds okay, or not to me, to a normal person sounds okay. That all sounds good. Let's start with upward trend. First of all, why would it be on an upward trend when it was supposed to be always one of our strongest allies? Okay. And instead of saying it's strong, it's upward trend. That's less than strong, but better than it was, is basically what it's saying. Then it says, again, same thing. The trend is reflected in the removal of the partial embargo. Well, turns out you can't remove a partial embargo unless you first put forth a partial embargo. So Israel is fighting an existential war. Their good friends in Germany and everywhere else on earth decided to do this and that to hold arms back. And now that we're in a ceasefire and Germany again has received the Arrow 3 defense system, a really great gift. I'm not saying that it wasn't well compensated for, but of military prowess from Israel. Now they're like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and lift this. It is like the smallest bone that you could possibly throw after having pulled the embargo in the first place. And then the other thing was that, again, it's abstention at the UN from supporting the extension of UNRWA's mandate, right? Like a real ally would have actually voted against extending. So I don't know. Like I said it before, I'm so tired of Israel simpering and begging for scraps when honestly they have so much that not only to offer, but that they're giving the world. Again, when it comes to defense, when it comes to life-saving intelligence, when it comes to technology, water tech, medical tech, tech, all the techs, all the things. And what do they get in return? Constant votes against them at the UN. It's so rare that an ally, I put it in quotes because honestly, besides the US, show me the country that has a strong record of supporting Israel, no matter what it's about at the United Nations. At some point, Israel has to say, if you want our stuff, here's how we're going to play.
Well, Israel can't afford that, unfortunately, because that good stuff is the only thing that stopped them being completely isolated as South Africa were during the apartheid years. And I've told, zoom out. I've said it a million times that international isolation, because the information front of the 7th of October war has been so catastrophically lost, has real world consequences. And what you've just described is exactly that. Israel is now politically toxic in Europe. It is not a country that people want to be necessarily seen to be doing business with. They will, because, like you say, incredibly useful, important stuff that Israel gives. But the eighth front, if you will, is going to have knock-on strategic and diplomatic effects for years to come, if not decades. And that's the real problem here. And that's why that war was so important. It's why I was banging on about it for 2 years. If you get diplomatically isolated in this way, unfortunately, you're in that position where, the fact that the world didn't like you anyway. I mean, the UN General Assembly always votes against Israel. It's an irrelevance, if we're really being honest. General Assembly doesn't matter.
Sure.
Spits in the wind, quite frankly. But, as you say, one of your key allies, one of Israel's key allies in Germany, feels the need to rein in public support for Israel because the entire sort of information ecosystem in Western Europe is saturated with Hamas propaganda that's gone pretty much unchallenged for 2 years, apart from the odd lonely voice. Hello. Very few people are actually telling the truth about what's happened in Gaza. And then, of course, you've got the own goal specialists in Israel who are doing their very best to sabotage all of this on top of everything that Hamas are doing. The best ally Hamas has in Israel is Ben Gvir and Smotrich. You saw that buffoonery today with the hangman's noose?
No, I didn't, but I did see it. My
So
bag
they've replaced their yellow hostage pin with a yellow noose.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah. They've replaced it with a yellow noose, representing their desire to have non-Jewish terrorists, murderers executed under the state of Israel.
Okay. Sorry. That's been confirmed not to be an AI?
I've not seen any suggestion it was AI.
Okay.
They look pretty pleased with themselves when they was doing it in a photo.
Okay.
Hey, I might have been caught out, but it certainly looked legit, and I've seen legit commentators commentating on it. So maybe we're all suckered in. I don't know, but either way, half the stuff they say does that job as well. Come out with genuinely genocidal bullshit, and it just gives an open goal to Israel's enemies to just knock the ball into the back of the net. And that's a football analogy.
I love football analogies.
According to Donald Trump, it's no longer soccer; it's now football, because he got the Kinder Price Peace Prize from FIFA the other day.
Oh, weird!
I don't know if you saw
the FIFA Peace Prize.
But yeah, so that's where we are. Unfortunately, I think these are the real world repercussions of that Palestinian propaganda. The billions of Qatari rial that have been spent on it. The complete failure by Israel to take it seriously, and this is where we are. Okay.
Well, I just want to say, I'm not saying that I support the things that Ben Gvir and Smotrich are saying, but do you not see the extraordinary, once again, double standard where every single word that comes out of Hamas's mouth, literally every single word, is genocidal, but we have 2 ministers in Israel, and all of a sudden the whole world is well, clearly, I mean, these words aren't coming out of Netanyahu's mouth or Sar's mouth or Lapid's mouth or Bennett's mouth or any of these other people's mouths. But if Israel says one thing or one person says something wherein every single word that comes from not just Hamas, but all of their Muslim Brotherhood brothers, is genocidal. Again, like Andrew, I feel like we have this discussion every single week, but there's only so much you can do with propaganda that is so stacked against you that there's nothing you can say or do that is going to change these people's minds. And that's really the corner that Israel's been backed into, and they have to just decide to do what's going to save themselves or do what is going to try to please a world that will never be pleased and never be satisfied with anything that they say or do.
Yeah, well, I mean, it shows you the omissions as well. I don't know if you saw Khaled Mashal's comments. I think it was yesterday. I checked. Yeah, so Khaled Mashal is one of the leaders of Hamas, openly rejected Trump's plan,
Yes.
including disarmament and relinquishing control. No major Western outlet reported on that speech. And essentially, the stuff he was saying basically says we're going to do October the 7th again if we can. It was quite astonishing, and yet, almost silence from almost silence from the world's media. I nearly lost my phone then, which was very strong, I think. So yeah, that's where we are. Look, and that's and we can complain about it all we like, but that is the space we're in, and Israel is going to have those repercussions, unfortunately. But look, bottom line, does it have any practical effect? Not really. Let's cut real to the quick of the matter. So the UN General Assembly has had a big it's had a big old whinge up, passed its little resolution. The UNRWA resolution was passed. Well done. What real practical effect is that actually going to have on the ground at this moment in time?
None.
Almost none.
What do you mean almost none?
Well, if you look at the UNRWA resolution, there might be, money still going to UNRWA. There might be.
Oh, that's a separate resolution. I thought you meant the Syria resolution, which, by the way, Alan.
The Syria one's a non. The UNRWA one might have 1 or 2% impact on the ground, but still practically nothing. So actually, it doesn't really matter, and it's all optics. But I think the Germany stuff is probably more telling, and that just, like I said, that just shows you how damaging the last 2 years of PR have been.
Did you see this article today about the Hamburg anti-Semitism czar, who's the only? So I guess that every major city in Germany has like an anti-Semitism czar, they call it, or whatever. And there's only one Jewish one. He's in Hamburg or Hamburg, however you say it, because you know how I am with languages. And okay, just like hamburger. Well, I'm a vegan. Give me a break. I don't know how to say hamburger. So anyway, that
just watch The Simpsons and think of Mayor Quimby. Ich bin ein Hamburger. You got it.
Okay. But that there's 19 of them, I guess. There's only one Jewish one, and he just handed in his resignation because the anti-Semitism is so out of control, and he feels like his life is being threatened by being in that position, that he's not getting any support from the city. But it's sad to see Germany specifically descending back into some dark places that it vowed it never would again. And the fact that the way that I see it, the government is loosening its reins on its previously very, very stringent anti-Semitism laws. And it's frightening to me that country of all countries should let this stuff slide.
Well, and the US president, of course, just announced the national security strategy that says they're going to assist the parties driving a lot of that very far right stuff. So that's good news. Great. Help empowering the far right in Europe has never had, and famously never had. What could possibly go wrong at this stage?
Exactly. So you wrote a piece either on Saturday or Sunday, I saw it yesterday, about the right in Donald Trump and what it's doing for the world, and I sort of wrote a counterpiece, so you could read that as well. But yes, I think that we've got a pendulum problem, and that's what my thing is about. That Donald Trump is just a symptom of this world that is just entrenching so far to the polls, that the polls, meaning the POLE, ask the left and the right, that when we have like a Biden, the only way to get rid of Biden is to run further than Biden to the right, and to just keep swinging further and further. And so you're right.
I saw that piece.
Yeah.
I agree with it.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was a counter to mine at all. I thought it was a good piece that made an awful lot of sense, actually.
Oh, I don't really mean a counter so much as stacking on the concept, but I do want to say, because Alan said that that Hungary supports Israel, and Hungary have been, again, like Argentina, one of those definitely staunch supporters. They also abstained on the vote. They did not vote against giving
Yeah,
everything
but
back.
Hungary support Israel in the same way Robinson does. It's a tool. It's an anti-Islam tool. It's kind of used
Mm-hmm.
as a vehicle because
Mm-hmm.
it's seen as strong people standing up against Muslims,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think is a fair depiction of Israel at all. Which is one of the reasons I find it quite offensive because 20% of Israel is Muslim, and frankly, if you're pushing that line, then what message does that send to 1 in 5 Israelis? Not
Mm-hmm.
great. But yeah, Orban is friends with Putin. He's a cuckoo in the European nest. And Israel just needs to get a lot better at picking its allies. And the counter argument to that is you take what you can get. But I think there is a better way. There is a third way, I think, for these countries, for Israel, than necessarily considering them allies. Because I think when it comes to the crunch, they won't be. Once Israel served its purpose, they will move on, and it won't be in a way that Israel finds particularly pleasant.
Yeah. I do think we need to step away from over-examination of motivations. And as you said, we unfortunately at this point, we just have to take our allies where we could get them because we can't really get them. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off, Mr. Andrew Fox?
No, that was a good wide-ranging chat. I think I hope people enjoyed it. And I would say go and have a look at Shana's Pendulum article on her Substack. I thought it was a good piece that really summarises the problem very nicely.
Feel free to give it a like, Mr. Andrew Fox.
I haven't got time to be liking things.
You pressed a little heart, and it goes a long way.
Oh, I've told you it was good. What more do you want from me, for goodness sake?
A little heart. Anyway.
I've got emails to be sending to the British Foreign Office. I don't have time to be liking stuff.
That's true. That's true. I'm not very likable anyway. Before we finish, I do have to say my weekly thing about the hostage. Yes, thank God it's the hostage and not the hostages, but IDF is sure that Hamas knows exactly where Ron Gavili's body is. Right now, it's just another foot-dragging tactic that they do every single time that they're supposed to uphold some sort of end of a bargain, combined with their eternal efforts at emotional terror. Of course, Ron's family right now is thinking about Hadar Golden, whose recently released body was held for 11 years and 3 months. I can only imagine Ron's family's anguish right now. Hamas is beholden per the agreement that they signed, even though now they're trying to change all the terms, as is Qatar and Turkey, to release Ron. They were supposed to release him 8 weeks ago now, 2 months ago. I just pray that they don't exploit him. And he's an absolute hero. And I just don't want to see him being used as an eternal bargaining chip. We cannot stop until he's home. Even if you think this is just a Jewish value, even if you think it's weird because it's a dead person, we're talking about one family out of 251 families that has to go to sleep at night knowing that their loved one is the only one that has not been returned.
Well said. Well said. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. If you're watching this later on YouTube, hopefully the sound has sorted itself out. But please do give us a like and a follow if you're watching this on another platform other than Substack. For those of you who joined in live, thank you very much. We love that you join us and take an hour out of your time on a Monday to come and listen to us two, cracking on. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. And please also leave your comments. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this. And unfortunately, one thing that Substack doesn't have that YouTube has is replay of comments during the show. So if you made a cogent comment during the show that you'd like to repeat or reiterate, please do put it in the comments. We'd love to read your thoughts.
Okay, and then we'll see you next Monday after my visit to Israel.
Yeah.
On Thursday, Friday this week, I'm going to the Kiryat to get a briefing from I won't say exactly which officer in the IDF, but someone quite senior. And then I'm hopefully going to go and have a look at the planning cell down in Kiryat Gat, if I can blag my way in using my silver tongue. So fingers crossed that'll be a very fruitful visit, and I'll have loads to share with you next week. But until then, cheers.
L'chaim. I'll see you next week.